all perfect weather days and beautiful aqua blue water. Sometimes it is just windy or cold or not great conditions.
G'day Big Lap Bible, we are Owen and Natasha and we run under the name of Adventure Today, Not Tomorrow.
We also have a travel page, which is a little quieter than Owen's page, called Adventures of the Golden Child.
Yeah.
We are a family of 4 with 2 children. We started our travels at the end of 2021 when we left the NT to travel Australia indefinitely. Why did you decide to do a big lap?
Right, so first up, we're not doing a big lap. We are just living for as long as possible out of our setup on the road. Why? I don't know, lots of little reasons. Just we've always done a fair bit of adventure and touring and stuff like that, and we lived remote before we started, and it came to a point where we had to make a decision, and this is what we chose. I don't know, that's the best answer of all.
That's good. What was your life like before the big lap?
Oh yeah, so life before that, we both grew up in the same town, small country town. And then, yeah, we moved to central Victoria for a little bit. We had a property there, got a little bit over that too, the cold weather and stuff, and so we'd taken an adventure up north where we did a remote Arnhem Land stint for a good 10 years. And then, you know, that come to an end, and like I said, we had to pick something, so here we are.
How did you prepare for your big lap? What things did you need to do before you left?
The caravan was our biggest change we had to make. Like I said, we've done a lot of travelling and touring and stuff, so we had a lot of the smaller items and we were conditioned to that sort of stuff. I already had the tow vehicle, that was a Land Cruiser at the time. Yeah, we just had to add the caravan, a family van, yeah.
Alright, I'm going to ask you about the setup. First of all, tell us about the setup.
So our current setup is a family van, 1906 by Marvel. It's a Golden Child. And then we have our new Hino truck, which is 90% complete. Yeah, that's our current setup. So.
How did you choose the right setup for you?
So initially our setup was the Land Cruiser, like I said. We had that because it was a shorter wheelbase, something that I preferred over the 79s. And then, yeah, we had to choose a caravan.
So in terms of the van, we had a wish list of what we wanted in a van. Obviously double bunks because we have kids, double axle. It needed to be the right size, the right weight, and we just spent some time mostly on the Facebook caravan sales groups, having a look for something that would fit our needs. And eventually this one came along, and the rest was history. I think from as soon as we saw this one, it just seemed to be.
We got lucky. I think we've looked at a lot of vans since at expos and whatnot, and we'd still walk away with ours in terms of layout and capacity and stuff like that.
Yeah. So that leads into things that you would change about the setup if you were starting again.
Yeah, 100% for me is the oven.
You don't like it?
It's problematic, probably because we don't use it. That's the reason, probably why it's problematic. Yeah, we just don't use it. So I converted the van to lithium, and then we've always used induction and stuff from the vehicle anyway. So we went away from gas and stuff like that for for wind and stuff like that. So we just don't use the oven. So yeah.
Mine would probably be the location of some of the USB charging points and power points. It's very minimal, but if we had the opportunity to start again, we'd probably make sure that those types of things were in an actual functional location in the van.
There's lots of them. There's no shortage of them. They just didn't quite 100% think it through.
And I think the only other thing that I would mention would be bed, we have an east-west bed, and in an ideal scenario, if we wanted to tow a bigger van, a north-south bed would make a lot of things so much easier. But again, the east-west bed is not a deal breaker, and I can't.
That was a limitation to us with our previous vehicle. Was that put us over the threshold? That put us up into the next category of van.
Yeah. And I wouldn't want to tow a bigger van just to have a bed that's facing the other way.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's just a bed. What kind of camps do you stay at and why? Van parks, free camps, etc.
We predominantly stay at free camps if possible. If we're doing a work stint, so far the work stints that we've had, we've stayed on site. So that would be our next most common type of accommodation. And we only use caravan parks if we need the services in that town or in that park, such as a washing machine.
Yeah. How do you find these camps? Yeah.
I prefer to use WikiCamps to find our camps, generally free camps, sometimes caravan parks. And as I said, if we are working at a location where we're staying on site, obviously we find that those spots through the job. Yeah.
So a lot of the little camps you find through the apps, the well-known ones, and then anything adventurous or a little bit further off the grid is sort of what I find.
Yes.
Just through other means of research or word of mouth or yeah.
Yeah.
What is the best camping spot you've stayed at? We struggle with this one.
I prefer the private sites that we've stayed at, so whether it's been staying on a station for work or whether it's been doing a farm stay, those types of sites, or staying with friends, those kinds of sites have been my favourite. In terms of a public site, my favourite campsites have been in the Shark Bay area.
Yeah, for me it's those private stays, like, you know, on a station or whatnot, where you have multiple opportunities for different adventures in the one location. That's yeah.
And I'd just like to add, in terms of a stunning location, Bunder Cliffs.
Can do absolutely nothing there.
No, but in terms of the beauty of a location, or beauty of a camp, Bunder Cliffs would have to be pretty high on the list.
Yeah. Is there a piece of advice you can give to future lappers about camps, caravan parks, etc.?
My advice would be obviously to get WikiCamps. That's
run all the apps.
That's my top go-to when I'm trying to find a camp. And I guess people just have to decide on what their budget is. Some people might want a budget for caravan parks every night. Some people might not, and are aiming to be more in free camps like we are.
I suppose the other one is, especially after we've just done WA, is the forward thinking, pre-booking and stuff like that for those type of camp spots. Like, you hear a lot of people frustrated with the system and missing out on, you know, they might have a particular camp that they want to visit and they go to the booking system and find out they don't have a hope. So maybe some forward planning with that. Yeah. Realities of van life. What are some of the things you know now but you didn't before you left?
But it's not all perfect weather days and beautiful aqua blue water. Sometimes it is just windy or cold or not great conditions.
Yeah, again, it's the social media trap, and it just only showing the good days or the successful days. Or
I think that's been the hardest lesson to learn, that you, from social media, you get the impression that some places are stunning and wonderful all the time, whereas the reality is that a photo taken in a 10-minute span of time doesn't show the way the wind blew for the rest of the day.
Esperance is a good example where
it's
you go there in winter, out of season, it's miserable. It really is. Yeah.
But although some people would like that, not the, some people would like those areas in
pretty
winter
extreme.
time.
Yeah.
I guess just dealing with I guess that comes back to dealing with your expectations from perhaps some of those, your expectations from social media and YouTube and all of that sort of stuff that you might have before you go to a place don't always match up to the reality. And I think that's something that people might need to consider.
It can. It just like you
Yeah,
said,
and then
like
there's places
the
where it
conditions
does.
have to align for it to happen. Like we're sitting in beautiful weather right now.
Yeah.
If it was raining and windy, we wouldn't be sitting here.
Yeah. What is your favourite thing about travelling?
Just different destinations and just being exposed to different stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Out of your, not so much out of your comfort zone because this is pretty comfortable for us, I think, now. But like every area, especially if you have never been to a certain region before, like this is a new region for us, and we've done very minimal research, so everything is new. There's no expectations. Everything is brand new to us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I like the time that we spend together as a family, sitting around the campfire, or going out on the boat, or whatever we're doing. It's just the four of us.
You can control your family's life, put it that way.
It's just the four of us, and the conversation, and there's no, depending on where we are, there's very little external pressure to go out somewhere, or go to do something, get ready and go off to school. It's us. It's just us spending time together, and I know that in future years when the kids have grown and have gone off on their own adventures, I will not regret having this time with them the way we have. Yeah. Is van life everything you thought it would be?
I didn't really have an expectation, to be honest. It's just a means of life, and we've done a lot of this before, so it's just an extension onto that. So it wasn't. All we've really done is stepped away from the work life as much as possible. That's the major difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it is everything I thought it would be. I possibly underestimated a little bit some of the stresses, when you're coming to a new town and you need to find parking, or you need to find where the water is, or getting into a petrol station, or that kind of stuff. I've underestimated some of those stresses on you. However, that said, it's probably still
Small stresses, really.
small stress compared to things that can happen in day-to-day life anyway. So you still have those kinds of stresses.
What is the van life myth?
Probably just that whole expectation versus reality.
Yeah.
Side
You
of
really have to be careful about the way or where reality sits for you. Like you got to be realistic. It's hard. Like the social media is the biggest trap, unfortunately. But yeah.
Any scary or funny times that we can remember?
No, we thought about this one before, and we've never had we've never had a bad situation. We've never had a scary one.
No.
No. We've never
Slightly
really
stressful driving
had
through
some
freeways coming out of Sydney and things.
Yeah,
but nothing.
some stressful.
Nothing that's scary.
Yeah, stressful travel days with other travellers, and weather conditions and stuff like that. Towing a big van and stuff when the conditions aren't right, and you're forced on a freeway at certain speeds, and so, won't go into that, but
that's
Other than that, no, we don't put ourselves in a bad situation, so we'll try not to.
Mm-hmm.
What's an item you couldn't live without? You go first.
Because I can think of this super easy. The jet boil.
The jet boil, yeah. I'm the same. Jet boils, we use it every day. It's funny, like you have a massive setup in a caravan and you still use a jet boil. Mine is just the whole package in general. Like our setup enables us to live this lifestyle, so that's the item. If I didn't have that, I couldn't do what we're doing. So.
And I would also probably have to say you, because in terms of the ins and outs of knowing the power system and the solar and charging and all of that sort of stuff, as try hard as I might, I don't, and I'm highly unlikely to ever understand it the way you do. So I definitely need you there for that.
You can carry that stress whenever you want.
What's the downside of doing the big lap?
downside is the forward thinking, the forward planning. And certain areas and certain times are different, but for instance, when we did WA, when we did parts of the touristy side of WA, the stress of forward thinking and like you've got to add on, like you said, where you get your water, power, where you're going to do your grocery shoot, where you're going to get your fuel from, on top of the booking system. And timing, you got to manage your resources so they last, and that it's just life, but that's compounded at certain areas and times of the year when you're doing this stuff.
And I think as the kids grow and get closer to secondary age, it's not a downside because we can definitely handle that on the road. I guess that their needs and their wants change.
Become more.
Yeah, and there's always that, like they have had and they are having the most amazing life and the most amazing experiences, but you still have that parent guilt where you're like, am I doing the best thing for them, not sending them to a school and they're not having consistent friends that they see every day, that type of thing. But personally I think the experiences and the adventure far outweigh that. It's just hard when sometimes
you've
got kids in the moment, because they're kids.
Yeah, in the moment you've got to reflect back, and it does come up every now and again with our kids. But then you reflect on, hey, look, you've done this, just in the last 3 months.
And
some kids never do it in their life.
They know people in every state of Australia, and we can visit those people every year, like a year since we've seen them, and the kids can still have a solid conversation with those people.
All the way around Australia.
All the way around Australia.
Yeah. Big Lab budget questions. What was your financial plan for the Big Lap?
I took leave from my job to be able to head off to travel. I took that at half pay so that we had about 20 months with money coming in to fund our travels for a start, and then the plan was always that we would see what would happen along the way and pick up work if and when we wanted to or needed to, and that's how it's played out so far.
Yeah. So how do you afford to travel, work, savings? So it's a bit of both.
So now that my leave has finished and I've resigned, we do work stints. Then in between work stints we live on our savings when we need to. So I've done a couple of stints as a governess. Owen's done a couple of stints as a hunting guide up in Cape York. He's worked as a station hand and doing some welding.
Fabrication work.
Yep. And then I've recently started tutoring while we're actually on the road. So I currently do that as we're travelling to give us some extra spending money each week.
If you were to work on the road, what do you do?
Oh, so I just explained some of the things they do.
That
But currently, if I could just give a plug here, I do work with a team of teachers for a tutoring company called My Travelling Teacher. So if you are looking for help with schooling, whether it's on the road or not on the road, or your child needs extra support in any area, then look us up.
That's getting really busy too. Like there's a lot more families and stuff and wanting to do schooling on the road, and then realising like a lot of parents aren't teachers, like you're a teacher, so it comes a little bit easier, but then we've seen a lot of families that struggle with that. But it's a lot going on in a small box sometimes. How much do you spend per week? Give a breakdown on the costs.
So I've budgeted, or I've kept track of all of our spending since we started travelling. So I've got, 3.5 years of figures now. So it's important to note that all our costs, we don't have a base anywhere else. All our costs are included in living here in the caravan. So weekly, on average, over the last 3.5 years, we average between $1,100 to $1,200 per week. Overall per year, we spent around $70,000 to $75,000. I do break it down every 6 months. I do track it and see how much we spent on each category for that 6 months. So I don't necessarily have an average over time. I do know that groceries is roughly $300 per week, but in terms of all the other costs, I don't necessarily have an average per week because because
The
they
way we travel,
fluctuate
the
a
way
lot.
we
Yeah,
travel.
sometimes we are hot footing from Victoria to
WA.
WA, for example, and just wearing the cost of the fuel that week, or sometimes we're doing a work stint and we're stopped for 3 months and spending minimal on fuel. So I don't really track those averages as such.
And maintenance as well. So like when we return
Yeah.
back to somewhat of a base, like, or if we're doing station work where we're sitting still for a couple of months, we will inject money back into maintenance and stuff.
Yeah.
So obviously that's
So
a
we'll
bit
have
of a
some
blowout.
big spend months.
Yeah, to bring our costs down later. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you do average it all out, it's about that 1,100 to 1,200 per week
Yeah.
for everything.
And that's on the cheap side because we don't do anything extravagant. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't go out to eat. We're not alcoholics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's leading into the next question. What do you do to save money while travelling?
Right, yeah. So we budget hard and free camp where we can. Try and be based where there is work, or try and base ourselves in one location and then branch out from there. Like for instance, when we did WA, like the central, like the Exmouth region, like we found somewhere, a location where there was a little bit of work where we could day trip or weekend trip, 4 days, whatever it was. So we weren't paying every day in campers. Yeah. So we treated more of those things more like a holiday, a working holiday sort of thing.
If you can find a place to be where the adventure is, then you're not needing to spend by travelling to the adventure.
Hence why we like private property.
Yeah. The next one is perfect for you. What has been your biggest splurge and was it worth it?
Big white elephant in the room. Yeah, it would have to be the truck. Is it worth it? Yes. I think in the future it's going to bring our costs down for the reason our capacities are higher, fuel, water, food, all those things. So when we do these remote gigs and stuff, because the blowout in the budget is fuel and food essentially, and camp fees. So, but if we don't pay camp fees, so we eliminate that one. If we can limit our access to town, we don't spend as much money. We need to carry the resources, hence the truck.
Yeah, towns are money pits for us.
Yeah, especially when you don't. Yeah.
When you haven't been to a town for a while. Is there anything you bought but don't use as much as you thought, or it wasn't worth it?
We don't have any big ticket items that we feel like we've wasted money on. There's been a few small things that insignificant. The only thing I can name is chainsaw. In the first half of our travel, we were limited on weight and space, so I sacrificed the chainsaw after a couple of years because the percentage you used it versus the amount of consumables you had to carry and stuff, it just wasn't practical. That's it.
We're pretty good at. I mean, it might look like we carry a bit of stuff, but we're pretty good at going through what we have and culling as we need.
Yeah, so a lot of items have multiple uses.
What's the biggest advice you can give to future lappers?
The same one that everyone says is just go and do it.
Yeah, before it's too late or before you can't do it.
Yeah, and that's from personal experience. Like we've seen a lot of elderly people, and they'll come up to you and say it's good to see a young family out there travelling while you can, and they'll reflect on their own life where they go, oh, we should have done it earlier. It's all we shoulda, and they didn't.
I think the society is full of the way we should live our lives, go to work and have 5 weeks holiday or whatever it is per year, and it is hard to step away from that and
Security blanket.
and live your life in a different way, but it's well worth it.
Yeah, and in terms of a family, like young family, you only have a window to do it with your kids before, and we're approaching that stage now where they might like to go back to what we call reality. We're not at that point yet, but for some families you can't go too early because your kids are too young. Maybe it might be harder, and then you can't go later on because they're either gearing up for university or whatnot. There's a balance. But I think definitely if you've got,
You can make it work.
if you can make it work, you just do it. And if you have to pull it short, you pull it short. You're not going to regret. If you're left for 12 months and you pulled it short at 3 months, you're not going to regret it.
Yeah.
So,
And the other thing, I know obviously we're living on the road indefinitely, so our caravan setup is what we need to be able to do that. But you don't have to have a setup like this. One of our best camping setups was our
swags.
but obviously they were for short-term trips and things, but still those trips are still, and that particular setup is still one of my favourites. So you don't have to have a whiz-bang setup to get out there.
Yeah. Depends what you want to do, how big your family is, how long you want to go for, how big your budget is. Like, there's lots of factors. But
Yeah, so people can decide on that for themselves, but the key advice here is just to do it.
yeah.